So welcome children once again in this video. Now children, as I told you that from this video onwards we'll be starting with programming in Java. Now children, before we start with programming, we must know what a program is. Basically children, we write a program in Java in a computer language to perform a task. And there are so many applications which are there in your computer or in your mobiles. These applications are made and they are stored in the electronic device as a program, and these programs performs a specific task, and we have classified these programs or these softwares which we call as system softwares and application software. So we already know that many applications like MS Word, MS Window, all these applications and many other programs, as we have discussed earlier, the library function, they are already stored. So now children, when we will be starting a program, we must know what a program is. Basically a program is a task which you perform, and children, whenever we do any task in our life, we have to follow 3 steps which I am going to discuss today. And children, these 3 steps are, first of all, the first step is the input. Then after the input children, the next step is the process, and finally we have the last step, that is called the output. So children, if we talk about any task, we say that any task is carrying these 3 steps, that is the input, the process and the output. And children, this is not only in computers, whatever task you do, even children, if you are making a tea, that is the daily task which we normally do, we follow these 3 steps, that is the input, process and the output. Children, to make a tea, we take a pan, that is the processing unit we can say, and we input some ingredients like we input water, tea leaves, sugar and then milk, and then children, we process it and we keep that pan on a burner and we wait for some time, that is the processing being taken place, and finally when the process gets over, we get the final output, that is the tea. It is not only in making tea, even when you are studying children, the study is also containing all these 3 steps. When you study for an examination, you take the inputs from the book, from the teachers, from other medias also, that is the input part. The process part is when you are giving your exam, that is the process part, and finally when you get your result, that is the output part. So we say children that these 3 steps are the basic steps of each and every task which we do. So when we write a program children, we have to divide our program into these 3 steps, that is input, process and output. So whenever you will be given a program, you must know what will be the input of this program, what will be the processing taking place, and what is the output. Output is the final result. Now children, input, what does input means? We say inputs are the instructions and the data. In Java we call it object also, which we give into the computer. So I am telling you one thing, it is basically data and it is basically instructions. In Java we can even call them as statements. In other language it may be called as commands. So input is the data and instructions which we give to the computer, and according to the instructions the data is processed over here. So the processing takes place in the process part, this is called the processing, and this processing children is done in the CPU, and finally when your data gets processed, you can say that you get an output, and that is the processed data, or children we can say that it is information. Processed data is also called as information, and children, this information is very important. Now in today's world we all are working for information technology. You might be working everything what we are doing, we are studying for information. The ads which we see on the television, they are for information, they are giving us some information. So information is the basic thing which is there. And so children, when we are talking about input, that is the data. Now what does a data mean? So children, whenever we are working, say I asked you to find out the total marks and average marks of a student. So to calculate the total marks and average of a student, the marks of the students, the marks obtained in different subjects, they are called the data. And the instructions which we give to add or to find out the processing part, they will be in the instruction part, and after following this instruction, this data will get processed in the processing unit, which will be called as process. And process is basically a series of actions which are performed on data to make it meaningful. Now children, data is raw fact, it is not of our use, but when it becomes meaningful to us, then it is of our use. Say for example, when we are talking about tea leaves or sugar, they are only of use when it is formed into a tea or when it is getting processed or when it gets processed. And children, in the same way, processing we say or process we say, it is a series of action done on data to make it meaningful. And finally, when that data becomes meaningful, it is called as process data, or in other way it is called as information. So when we talk about information, children, we say that information is the process data, or we can say that information is that data when it gets processed and it becomes meaningful to us, it is called as information. Now children, when we talk about data, we have various type of data which I already have taught you in Java. Data types in Java, we have numeric data, we have character data, we have boolean data, we have string data, then integer data. Integer data is again of 4 types, then real data, number having decimal parts, it is of 2 types, then we have character data, boolean data, and with the combination of data we are going to make a string data also. So data is of various types. Data can be a direct data or it can be in the form of an object also. Now we come to what are instructions or statements. So children, when we are talking about a language, a program, so program or a language is a set of instructions. So whenever you write any language, you write it in the form of sentences or in the form of statement. So children, statements are many statements when we do a program. So a statement, if we want to define a statement, we say a statement or an instruction in computer is one complete unit of execution. So a computer can only execute one statement, it cannot execute half of the statement. So the computer executes one statement or one instruction. Now children, when we are talking about this data and instruction, a similar word comes over here which is called as a program. And children, this is the only thing we will be talking, because you will be getting questions to write a program to do this, write a program. Now children, we must first know what a program is. So a program, children, in any computer language is having a set of rules, is having its own syntax. Say for instance, if you want to write a program in BASIC, you will follow the syntax of BASIC. If you want to write a program in C++, you will have to follow all the instructions, all the statements, all the grammar of C++, and if you want to write it in Java, then you will have to follow the grammar or the syntax of Java. Now children, when we are talking about a program, we say that a program contains a set of instructions, more than one instructions, and a program we write to carry out a particular task. So we say that a program is a set of instructions in a computer language given to the computer in a particular order or in a sequence to carry out a particular task. And apart from program, apart from giving instructions in the program, we sometimes also provide data in the program, and sometimes we provide data at the time of execution of program. So children, in computer, when we are talking about program, there are 2 phases of program. First is writing a program, and the second phase is executing your program, and that is when you are running your program also. We say, so program, I say that it is a set of instructions in a computer language given to the computer in a particular order to carry out a particular task, and it may also contain some raw data which is to be processed. So children, whenever we want to give any data in the computer, say for instance children, I have a maid, I ask my maid to wash my clothes. So I have to give her instructions to wash the clothes. Since in computer we have to give each and every instruction, in the same way to a maid we give instruction, this is water, these are the clothes, this is the soap, and here you do the washing, here you can dry up the clothes. So we give instruction, but only instructions are not okay. But apart from instructions, we also have to provide data. That is, when I am asking my maid to wash my clothes according to my way, I also have to provide the dirty clothes too. So that dirty clothes over here are the data. So children, whenever we are giving a program means set of instructions in a computer language in a particular order given to the computer along with data to carry out a particular task. And sometimes children, I may instruct my servant to wash my clothes without giving the clothes. Now what will happen? When she will start washing the clothes, before washing the clothes, she will ask me to give the dirty clothes. So there are two ways. First thing is that I can give her the clothes and I can ask her to wash these clothes. So I am providing the data along with my instructions. And the second is I can just instruct her that today you will have to wash the clothes. And at the time she washes the clothes, then she will ask me for the clothes. The same thing applies over here. When we write a program, sometimes when the values for calculations are given in the program, we provide it in the program. And when the values to be processed or when the data to be processed is not provided, then the computer asks us for that data at the time of execution. Say for instance children, there is a program, I ask you to write a program, say to add 5 and 10. So I have given you the number 5 and 10. So what you can do, you can provide this 5 and 10 in the program while writing the program. The other program I say, I give you to add any two numbers. Now when you write this program, you don't know what are the two numbers you have to add. So in that case, you write a program for it, and when you execute a program or when the user executes a program, the computer should ask two numbers, and at that particular time of execution, the numbers which you give to the computer provides you with that answer. So children, this input which is there can be given at the time of writing a program. It can also be given at the time of execution of a program. Now children, I hope this is clear. Now children, the question comes, how are we going to do inputs? Input is done through input devices of the computer. So again in input I am talking about the input devices. Now children, when we are talking about a computer is not only a computer, it is a computer system. A computer contains a keyboard, it contains a mouse, sometimes it contains a webcam, it contains a touch screen, it contains a writing pen or a light pen, and it contains basically a band like you have to calculate bills. It contains optical reader. So there are so many input devices which you can connect to your computer. And normally children, we connect a keyboard, a mouse and a webcam normally to work on computers. But if you want some advanced input devices, you can attach a writing pad on it, you can attach a light pen on it, and so many devices are connected. So you must know some idea of input devices. So what I am talking about input devices, for example, the most important is keyboard, then you have mouse. Various type of mouses are available. You have optical mouse, you have ball mouse, now you have cordless mouse, you have mouse available on the laptop also. So everything is there. What are there? Other thing, light pen can be attached to it. What other? Webcam, the camera. We can attach a touch screen. And children, there are so many input devices at present which can be connected. Now question comes, what are these input devices? We say that input devices are those devices through which we enter data and instructions into the computer. So children, whenever we are talking about a program, I am only going to talk about data, instructions, and if there are set of instructions, it forms a program, and I am just going to talk about information. These are the three things basically we are working on. We give data, we give instructions, the computer process converts our data into information. So children, we have to provide data as inputs. So input devices are those devices through which we enter data and instructions into the computer. And in another way, we can also say that input devices are those devices through which the user communicates with the computer. If I want to communicate with the computer then I have to use my input devices to give it instructions, to give it data. Then children, we come about the processing part. The processing unit is the CPU, the central processing unit, and we'll talk about it that this central processing unit is basically that unit where all the calculations, all the logical operations are done, and it also contains memory storage. It also contains a control unit. So when we talk about, it contains a unit called ALU. ALU, children, is arithmetical logical unit. That means it is a unit or a device, a hardware device in the computer which is performing all the arithmetical tasks, all the logical tasks. Arithmetical tasks, children, you know that means addition, subtraction, multiplication. And logical tasks, children, means comparison. Here you make tests, and after making comparison you take some action or you branch. Either you do task 1 or you do task 2. Say when you do comparison, you get an answer in true and false in Boolean form. If my answer is true, I will do this task. If my answer is false to the logical expression, then I will do this task. That is logical operation. And children, this is very important unit of the computer, of the CPU, that is called the arithmetical logical unit. Then children, the next thing is the control unit, which we normally call as CU. Now children, control unit is that unit which is controlling all the inputs, all the input devices, all the output devices, all the processing, and even the storage which is done in the CPU and outside the CPU is all controlled by the control unit. It reads our instructions and it perform all the tasks according to. Every task is being performed by the control unit. It is basically called the brain of the computer. And the third very important part of the computer is the memory. And children, when I am talking about this memory I am calling it the internal memory or the immediate access memory of the computer. So every computer has got its own memory, and I am going to tell you about this memory. And there is a memory which is external to the computer. That is called the external memory or the secondary memory or the auxiliary memory or non-immediate access memory. And children, if I am talking about memory, if I want to define a memory, as I have told you that we are only working with data, instructions and information. So memory, I say that memory is a storage location in computer which stores data, instructions and information only. So what it does, it stores data, instructions and information. Now children, in computer, the internal memory of the computer is of two types, that is ROM, read-only memory, and RAM. I am just going to give you an introduction of it, but you can study it in detail from your books also. So children, this internal memory is of two types, ROM, which is called as read-only memory. Now children, in this memory we call that it is a non-volatile or it is a permanent memory. So whatever instructions are written in this memory at the time of manufacturing of that computer, it is stored in the chip. These instructions are permanently stored, and we can definitely change it by some expert methods which I am going to discuss now. Read-only memory contains instructions which are going to start up your computer. They are going to contain instruction which we call as BIOS, Basic Input Output System. So when you switch on your computer again starts working, it starts booting up. All that thing which is being done is done by all the instructions stored in the ROM area, read-only memory. And children, in whatever work which we do does not get stored. It is a permanent memory. And this is the RAM memory, and this will be the memory we will be working on whenever I will be working on computers. And this is called as random access memory. It is a temporary or a volatile memory. Volatile or temporary means that whatever is written in it can be erased. Or when the computer is switched off, anything written in it will be erased. Like for example, this board we can say is a volatile storage area where I can rub anything which I have written over it. So children, this RAM is random access memory, and this memory is the memory which is used. So whatever data, instructions, information we store it in RAM. Now children, ROM is of three types. We say that it is programmable, read-only memory, It is electrically or erasable programmable read-only memory, and it is electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. These are three forms of memory, and you can say that it is, but we must know about ROM. And children, the RAM again is of two types, and this is static RAM, and we call it as dynamic RAM. Now children, when you switch on your computer after the instructions read by this, and after the computer gets booted up, before booting up it stores the Windows or whatever operating system you have used, so that all gets stored in the static RAM. Then you also use the language, say if I am working with Java or if I am working with BASIC, I store some packages, that also gets stored in static RAM. This is a sort of area where the data will be stored, and it will not be that data or that program will get stored which is required during that execution of the that software. And dynamic RAM, children, is that area where we are going to store some values which we are going to change, and those values will be changing and will be using this. So the memory which we normally work for the computer program for storing our data, local data, or the data generated at the time of calculation, stored in the dynamic memory. Now children, this is the structure of the internal memory. Now children, this memory, whatever you stored, and you cannot store anything on this memory, that is wrong. And whatever you stored in this memory, I am saying that this is a temporary memory, as I am saying that this board is a temporary memory. Now children, if I am teaching you and I am asking you that this is important, but you all know that I am going to rub this board. So what you can do, you can copy down whatever I have written on this onto your registers, onto your copies, onto your diaries. So your register, your diary, they are permanent storage device. In the same way children, what we do, if I have some programs or if I have something made in the computer which I want for later use, so what I do children, I store it in another memory which is basically the RAM part, which is called as the external memory. External memory. And children, the memory which I was talking about over here, which is inside the CPU, and we were calling it as internal memory. In the CPU children, sometimes we have hard disk also. Hard disk is not a internal memory. It is attached outside the CPU in the cabinet of the computer. Now children, this external memory are the hard disk, the pen drive, any card which you have, storage card, or you can have disk drives. So many storage devices are used, but normally nowadays we are using hard disks which are internal also and external also. We are using pen drive of different storage. So children, what happens if I want my program which is I have already written in RAM to be stored permanently, and when I switch off my computer, that program is going to get erased. It is going to get washed off. So before I switch off my computer or before I move on to my next application, this program must be saved on these external memories. This external memory we also call as secondary or auxiliary memory. So children, many times you might be working on computer, say on MS Word, and when you switch off your computer, before switching off it asks you a question, do you want to save this? So you say yes, so you type the place where you want to save, and you then save that data. And when you switch off the computer, again you switch on the computer, say after a few days or next day, you can transfer that data from the external memory back into the RAM and you can go. So children, the transfer of data from RAM onto this hard disk or into the pen drive or into any external memory is called, children, saving. So you might have heard of the word save or saving. So transfer of our important data onto the hard disk is called as saving onto the external memory. And children, when we want to again bring back this data back into the RAM, this is called as loading. So saving and loading we must know. Saving is when we store our data from the RAM into the external memory, and loading means when our data from the external memory gets stored onto the RAM, because the computer is only going to access these two memories. It is not going to access these memories. So we must be clear about it. So children, I hope this memory portion you have understood. And now children, we come to the third portion, that is the output part. And children, in the output part, I say that output is the final result which we get after processing of data. And it is, when the data get processed, it is called as output. Now children, how are we going to get the output from the computer? So we get the output from the computer on the output devices. Now children, first of all, we must know what is an output device. So in a very easy way, we can say that output devices are those devices through which the computer communicates with the user. So with output device, the computer is communicating with us, and with the input devices, we are communicating with the computer. Now children, output devices are so many. You have the visual displays, visual displays, you have the LED screens, you have many other display screens available at present, and all these are output devices. Then you have the speakers, you have plotter, you have printers. Now children, all these are different examples of output devices, and through these output devices we get the output from the computer, or we can say the computer tells us, or the computer communicates with us. So children, I hope you have followed this principle of programming. Now children, what I want to tell you is that when we write program, the first thing we do is, after reading the program, we just start writing the program. Whatever syntax we start writing, then after few lines we come to know that we are in a hang up, we don't know what we have to do. So children, I always tell you that whenever a task is given to you, divide your task. So in programming, we are going to divide a task into input, process and output. Many times you may not get the input, you will only be asked the output. Say it asks you to find out the total of a student. So you now don't know what a total of a student is. Say a total of 3 marks. Then the 3 marks are not given. Or you are just asked in such a way that either output is given or process is given, input is not. So, but whatever is given, many times the question is asked where whatever you have to input is given in the program, the things you have to process is also mentioned in the program, and the final output which you have to find out is also asked. So what we do children, we divide a program into inputs, then process and then output. This is called as problem analysis. Problem analysis means we analyze our program, we see what are the things which is asked in the program, then we divide this program into input part, then processing part, and then the output. So if we divide them children, we definitely know that the input part is going to come first, we do the input part of the program, and then we do the processing, and finally we do the output. Now children, before we go into the input part, as you all know that we are programming in Java. But children, when I discussed about Java, the characteristics or advantages or disadvantages of Java, I told you that in Java there are some problems also. That Java do not have its own text editor where we have to write. So, and it do not have its debugger, neither does it have its terminal window, and it is basically a command line user interface. So whatever you have to do it through the keyboard. But because we have to teach it at the beginning level, so what we are doing, we are executing a Java program with the help of another program which is written in Java, which is called as BlueJava. So children, I will be teaching you how to start a program in BlueJava. So in BlueJava children, it has made a task a little easier. It has provided us with a text editor, it has provided us with a debugger, it has provided us with a viewer where we can see our object created, our output, and children, it has made our processing graphically. That is, now we are working on graphical user interface. So children, input in Java is different, but when we are working with BlueJava, BlueJava has made our input simple. So at the initial level, we are going to enter our data or we are going to provide the data in the program with the help of that feature of BlueJava. So I hope children, a very important description we have given regarding the program. Before moving on to any programming part, we must discuss all these things. Then only the programming will become easier for us. So children, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have followed. If you have not followed children, you can just give me a note and I can again explain you whatever you have not followed. Thank you very much.